Hi there, my name is Nan Kelly. Welcome to Circle Sessions, everyone. Well, there are just a handful of artists in the modern contemporary Christian genre who really did help shape that format, and my guest today is one of them. His career spans over 30 years, and he is the most awarded Christian music artist in history, with 59 Dove Awards to his credit. He's had 49 #1 hit singles, and he has a name that is loved and respected across many genres. Welcome to Circle Sessions, Steven Curtis Chapman. Hi there.
Thank you. Hey, Nan. So good to be with you. Thank you
So nice to meet you.
for that introduction, and I think it all just started right here, not far, a few feet from where we are right now, actually.
You were at, well, we're going to dive into the
Yeah,
Opryland world in just a bit, because you and I have some really common ground in that place.
I know. I can't wait to.
I have pictures.
Oh,
we're going to show them.
Okay, well, I may ought to. What's it going to cost for me to make sure you don't show those pictures? No,
if
it's
you
all
have
good.
some of me, we'll be
right.
even.
Yeah.
Because
Hey,
I
that's
think
a
my
good-
hair was as big as this room back then.
Yeah. Hey, it was the style. I had the mullet, so I mean, I wasn't alone in my
We have
interesting
pictures.
hairstyle choice.
Good.
Yeah.
So you're from just up the road in Paducah, Kentucky.
Right.
How did the intersection look for you when you turned and went down the Christian music road as opposed to the country music or the bluegrass road? What was that decision like for you?
Well, it's a great question, and there's an amazing story that I will never forget. In fact, it comes full circle tonight because I'm on the Opry with Ricky Skaggs, one of my heroes, and one of the great legends of all music, in my opinion, particularly bluegrass and the music I grew up with. Growing up in Paducah, Kentucky, as you mentioned, I'm a bluegrass fan from as early as I can remember. In fact, lyrics of a song on my last album was a bluegrass album called Where the Bluegrass Grows, and the lyric of that song opens up with something I wrote. It says, the first thing I remember as a little barefoot boy was the sound of my daddy's Martin guitar and a 5-string banjo. So that's really true. The first memories I have are of music, and particularly bluegrass music and country music and the Grand Ole Opry. If the weather was just right, and in Paducah, about 2.5 hours away, and everything, all the planets were aligned, my dad could get WSM radio, and I remember riding in the car, and you'd hear the static, and you'd hear, banjo, and you'd hear, this is the Grand Ole Opry. My dad would it's like, hush, 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 everybody be quiet and listen, because that's where it all happened. So I had that in my heart as a little boy, just that this was the ultimate place where people, the best musicians in the world, congregated.
Right.
But I grew up in the church, grew up singing with my family in church. And all of that really came as a real transformation that happened in my home. My dad played bluegrass and folk music and had a dream of being on the Grand Ole Opry someday. He would sit in his car in the Ryman Auditorium, and when they didn't have air conditioning back in those days, and he would listen. He couldn't afford a ticket to go in, but he would listen from his car, roll the windows down, and he'd listen to the sound coming out of that, and he thought, someday I'm gonna be on that stage. And coming back and forth, driving from Paducah to here, and eventually, though, he kind of put that dream down. He just realized that he'd grown up without a father, and Dad had left home when he was a baby, and alcohol had destroyed his life. So he had a lot to think through about, do I want to chase this dream and be away from my family, or do I want to stay home and be with my family? And in particular, I want to be able to be in church with him on the weekends, on Sunday. And so he made a decision to do that. So we started, as a result, gospel music became a real focal point of our life. First song I learned on the guitar was Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash. So I learned about how to go to prison when I was about 6 years old, but then we started learning some hymns about how to
turn that around.
How to be set free. And we learned a lot of Bill Gaither songs. So I grew up singing Bill Gaither and Johnny Cash. So it was an interesting mixture of music. And so I had this, idea of, I wanted to play music. I loved it. Had a dream of doing that, started playing guitar and singing with my brother and singing with my family in church. But I wasn't sure. I started writing songs in high school, and the songs I wrote, just what naturally came out of me, were songs about my faith. They were, gospel songs, Christian themed songs, and graduated from high school and drove to Nashville with my brother and auditioned at an amusement park called Opryland, USA. And I had an opportunity to work here in a show for that summer in 1981, Country Music USA.
We're going to take a short pause, but we'll continue our visit with Steven Curtis Chapman right after this.
Favorite song of mine to perform, hands down, is Cowboys and Angels. And it's because I wrote that song with my grandparents in mind. It's a song about a true love and a love that lasts. And they've been high school sweethearts and married now for, I've lost count, 64 years, 65. I think we're going on 65 maybe. So it's amazing to see the crowd sing their song at the top of their lungs. Is the coolest thing ever.
I really don't have a favorite. I really like performing all my songs. I will say Head Over Boots is one of my favorite. Dirt on My Boots, Can't Turn You Down, To Kill a Little Time, Night Shift, What I Can't Put Down.
My favorite song to perform live is A Real Fine Place to Start. The first time I heard it, I immediately was attached to it and drawn to it. I love it because it's a love song, but it's fast and it's driving. You know, it's kind of like got this rock and guitar intro. Every night when I perform it on stage, I'm just like, I love that song. And it gives me chills every night.
Country, lifestyle, music, right here in The Circle. A network that offers you a variety of programming from classic country shows to westerns, country lifestyle, and legendary music performances. Country plays here, keeping The Circle unbroken with Opry Live on Saturday nights. Join us in The Circle.
Welcome back to the countdown. Okay, let's get this party started.
Hey, I'm Blair Garner. We're counting down the top 10 country outlaws.
She's the lady who's a total badass.
And you, Brantley Gilbert, are an outlaw.
He has a few arrests. In fact, Brantley sold T-shirts with his mugshots on it.
He took the church to the bar, slammed his Bible down, took a shot, and that's an outlaw.
Coming up on the Southern Weekend.
This is the most beautiful restaurant I've ever seen.
Our guests will feel like they've stepped out of Texas for a moment.
We both grew up in Seaforth, Australia.
You met at 3 years old.
A long time to hate someone.
I would love to learn how this works.
All the fiber that I spin here at the museum is from their own sheep.
This is the temple for bluegrass music. To get opportunities to play here and just a dream come true.
Some night and far from home.
We're so thankful the Poe Ramblin' Boys came by to spend some time with us today.
Treat her right, never wrong. Oh, how my girls can love.
Wish Opry was every night? We do too. So Circle is giving you an Opry show every weekday at 4 p.m. Central. Step into the Circle with us and your favorite artists. Watch Opry every day right here on The Circle.
Welcome back to Circle Sessions. I'm Nan Kelly. We're spending some time with Steven Curtis Chapman. Shall we dive in?
We should just probably tell the pictures because this is a long story that ends up back to gospel music. But you got to take the little speed bump or the little, whatever it would be.
Check this out.
There you go. Wow.
Do you remember what character this was?
That was Ernest Tubb.
Ernest Tubb. That's what I was trying to think of.
Because I would flip the guitar over at the end and it said thanks.
Thanks.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
Check this one out. Talk about hair.
Wow. So there is the mullet.
Nice.
There it is, the mullet. What'd they say? Business in front, party in the back. Yeah. But
what was this?
This was the big moment, though, in the Country Music USA show, because we all know that it was basically the country music national anthem, He Stopped Loving Her Today by George Jones.
You sang that.
And I got that part. I was so excited. I mean, that was like the coveted,
that was
if you got to do George Jones, He Stopped Loving Her Today, that was a big moment. Roy Acuff was going to introduce me and bring me out on his segment. I walked out on stage, the Grand Ole Opry. My father is there, of course, just dying. And like my son is on the stage. That's where that was the stage, the Grand Ole Opry. My mom, my dad,
How old were you?
My grandmother. I was 19 years old. Yeah, wow. And I sang Now, mind you, I'd done this song, 200 times, because you sang it 5 times a day in the show.
Right, 6 days a week.
And I walked out on stage, and I started the song, and I sang the first line, He Stopped Loving Her Today, and I looked out, my mind just went, you're on the Grand Ole Opry. That's Roy Acuff. That's the Opry band. Your mom, your dad. And my mind just started racing through all these thoughts, and I forgot the words to He Stopped Loving Her Today.
Oh, no.
On the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, went totally blank, sang one line, and then I just went, and I kind of froze, and the band kept playing, and everybody in the audience is trying to help me. You can see their faces. They're all trying to help this poor kid. But I got through the song. Roy walked out, grabbed my arm. He said, well, Steve, that was really good, but sounds like you forgot the words there for just a moment. Did something happen? And this was the first thing that came to my mind. This was at a time when George was really struggling, and a lot of people knew him as No-Show Jones. He would come out and sing half a song and leave, and it just was not a good time in his life. And the first thing that came to mind was, I said, well, no, Roy, that's kind of how George would have done it. I just thought I'd do it like George.
Wow.
The audience fell out. Roy laughed. We walked off stage, and Roy said, son, I don't know what else you can do, but if you can pull that off in front of this audience, you just might have a career in this business.
God bless him.
So that was my first Opry performance, and I've been trying to live it down ever since.
Oh, don't live it down.
But I tell that story, and I've sung the song now probably 20 times from that stage. Whenever I get a chance, I sing it just to prove to that song I know the words to this song. But that was part of my journey that eventually would lead me back to gospel music. And it was interesting because I was sitting with my dad, and I'd been writing songs, and my father, who's actually been on this stage and sung with me.
Has he now?
Yes.
That was going to be another question for you.
He
made
has,
it.
Yes. But I remember sitting with my dad while I was working at Opryland, and I'd sung on the Grand Ole Opry, and my dad said, son, I know that the songs you write are gospel songs. But he said, what about country music? Because you've got this opportunity to sing on the Grand Ole Opry. Yeah, you forgot the words, but you did all right after that. It's like you have these opportunities. Maybe God wants you to sing country music. I said, Dad, I would love that. I love country music. I'd love to do that. But when I sit down and just do what comes most natural, when I write the songs that come from my deepest place in my heart, these are the kind of songs that come out of me, and they're songs about my faith. Sometimes it's a song about, it doesn't have to always be a gospel song, but to have that freedom to be able to sing about my faith, up front, I said, that seems like kind of what God made me to do. So I think I'm going to at least chase that for a while and see. And here I am chasing it after that's probably 40 years ago. My first album came out about 35 years ago, which is crazy.
87, was it?
87, yeah. Isn't that crazy? Wow.
Stay with us on Circle Sessions. More with Steven Curtis Chapman when we come back. Hey, I'm Lauren Elena.
Hey, I'm Riley Green.
Hey, I'm Tennille Towns.
Join Circle All Access's Facebook group.
You'll be glad you did.
Hey everybody, Bobby Bones here, host of Opry Live. Circle Network is excited to start texting with you. We'll send some fun, personalized messages just for you, and sometimes someone special may be sending them. Maybe some of my friends, maybe even me.
Hi, I'm Clint Black. Tune in for my show Talking in Circles, where I interview some of my talented friends and get into the heart of what inspires them. Fans will have a chance to get to know and appreciate their favorite artists on a new level. We'll have some laughs and maybe a tear or two as we dive into some of their amazing stories. Be sure to watch my show, Talking in Circles, right here on Circle.
Coming up on this episode of Authentic America, we head to Bowling Green to learn how to make some of Kentucky's finest chocolates.
Next up, it's a short ride to Hopkinsville, Kentucky to check out the Casey Jones Distillery, where we learn the fine art of fine shine.
Then it's a visit to the home of America's sports car, the Corvette Museum.
All that in this episode of Authentic America.
We're back on Circle Sessions. Steven Curtis Chapman is our guest today.
49 #1 hits you've had. I don't know, as an interviewer, as a person in this industry, that I've spoken to anyone with 49 #1 hits. And I want to go down a road with you, if you will oblige me. We can't hit all 49 because we'd be here for a long time, but just a few thoughts about each, if you will.
Absolutely.
Hold on to Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Simple phrase of that one, which is so true for me, is, and I try to think of the different places I've been influenced with this idea. Corrie ten Boom, the life of the great godly woman who endured the Holocaust, she would often talk about holding on loosely to things that are fleeting, that you can't hold on to anyway. Why do we hold on to things that we really, we really can't hold on to anyway? I love another great missionary, Jim Elliot, who said, "He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he can never lose." And so I think these kinds of things that have gone into my soul and into my heart over the years that have have helped keep me centered and on track. In this song I say, I want to hold on loosely to the things that are fleeting, and hold on to Jesus for life.
For all my life, with all my life. That's the line that hooked me. The Great Adventure, one of my favorites.
Yeah. It's funny, that song has actually just had a resurgence in a new movie.
It's in a movie.
Yeah, A Week Away, which is crushing it on Netflix
Just
right now.
came out.
Yeah, and it's like in the top 10 of all of movies on Netflix, and it's a musical. A couple of my songs made it into that movie, and one is The Great Adventure. Saddle up your horses, we got a trail to blaze. Not being much of a horseman myself, but the song itself was written out of just actually a pretty deep time of just things were taking off. My career was starting to go places I never would have imagined. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I've got 3 kids at the time at home. My sweet wife is trying to figure out, how do I survive this? Because my husband's gone. There were some real struggles going on, and been diagnosed with depression, clinical depression. But I was just trying to figure out how to love her well and do all of these things, and not sure I could. And I met actually with a group of friends and pastors and my record company people and managers, and just kind of poured my heart out. And it was one of those days that they just encouraged me, and really God just spoke through them some words of deep encouragement that kind of helped me say, you know what, this is going to be a crazy, wild ride, but as long as I have these people around me and my wife knows that I've got the accountability of this, that it's not going to be at the expense of my family and my marriage, that we're on this adventure together. And it kind of inspired me to write that song, and I'm so thankful that it's still alive. The song's still going.
Let's hit one more.
Yeah.
For the sake of the call.
I've written thematic albums many times through the years, and this was a theme that I was really just thinking a lot about, reading a lot of books, and I read a book that was way out of my league, but I felt like it was a book that I really wanted to try to chew my way through, written by a German theologian named Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who wrote a book called The Cost of Discipleship. And it's just a very weighty, but just packed with so much good stuff. And I came across this phrase, for the sake of the call, and how the disciples and the followers of Jesus throughout history, but especially in the beginning, It wasn't because it was going to get them applause, or it's probably going to get them killed. It was certainly going to get them, at best, persecuted and, mocked and whatever. But they followed Jesus simply because he called them, for the sake of the call. And I just thought that's such a profound thing. I want to try to put that in a song. And so wrote that song. And it's another one that I still sing just about every concert because I love the truth of it, and I love the song and just what it means to me.
We'll continue our visit with Steven Curtis Chapman right after this. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the countdown. Okay, let's get this party started.
Hey, I'm Blair Garner. We're counting down the top 10 country outlaws.
She's the lady who's a total badass.
And you, Brantley Gilbert, are an outlaw.
He has a few arrests. In fact, Brantley sold T-shirts with his mugshots on it.
He took the church to the bar, slammed his Bible down, took a shot, and that's an outlaw.
Hi, I'm Clint Black. Tune in for my show Talking in Circles, where I interview some of my talented friends and get into the heart of what inspires them. Fans will have a chance to get to know and appreciate their favorite artists on a new level. We'll have some laughs and maybe a tear or two as we dive into some of their amazing stories. Be sure to watch my show Talking in Circles right here on Circle.
All alone some night and far from home.
We are so thankful the Poe Ramblin' Boys came by to spend some time with us today.
Treat her right, never wrong. Oh, how my girls can love.
Coming up on this episode of Authentic America, we head to Bowling Green to learn how to make some of Kentucky's finest chocolates.
Next up, it's a short ride to Hopkinsville, Kentucky to check out the Casey Jones Distillery, where we learn the fine art of fine shine.
Then it's a visit to the home of America's sports car, the Corvette Museum.
All that in this episode of Authentic America.
Coming up on the Southern Weekend.
This is the most beautiful restaurant I've ever seen.
Our guests will feel like they've stepped out of Texas for a moment.
We both grew up in Seaforth, Australia.
You met at 3 years old.
A long time to hate someone.
I would love to learn how this works.
All the fiber that I spin here at the museum is from their own sheep.
This is the temple for bluegrass music. To get opportunities to play here and just a dream come true.
Welcome back into Circle Sessions. I'm Nan Kelly with our guest today, Steven Curtis Chapman.
Talking about calling, I love that you are, and I'm going to quote your wife here because I watched some of your videos on YouTube, helping children come home through the miracle of adoption. I understand you guys started that in 2003, I think. Yes, after you brought home your 3 girls from China.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like? How did this begin with you and your wife?
Yeah, well, so the adoption journey began. We have 3, my wife says 3 natural and 3 supernatural children. So our 3 natural children, oldest is Emily. She's now 35, has 3 little girls of her own with her husband Tanner, so I'm a grandpapa. My son Caleb, who has 2, a boy and a girl with his wife, and my son Will Franklin, who has a little girl. So we have 6 grandbabies now, but we have our 3 children. And then our oldest daughter came home from a trip to Haiti and had spent time with kids that didn't have a mom and dad. And it broke her heart. And her name is Emily, our oldest. And she said, Mom, Dad, she's 11 years old, said, I think we need to do something about this. I think we should adopt. We told her at 11 years old. I mean, and she was not just like, hey, that's an idea, now I'm gonna go play. It was like, I think this is what we're supposed to do. And of course, we told her that, look, 3 kids, this is it. We said, that's crazy. It's wonderful. You should do that when you get older and have your own home, but we're done. But she prayed and she prayed and she talked and she, went on a campaign. And in March of 2000, we went to China and adopted Shohana, our first of what we would think would be the only, but would be the first of 3 daughters that we would eventually adopt from China. Stevie Joy would follow her, and then Maria. And but it was that first trip to China that we walked through the orphanage that our Shohana came from. And there was bed after bed after bed and child after child. And it broke my wife's heart, particularly my wife, mine as well. But she came home and said, there are millions of kids that don't have a family. And what are we going to do about that? We have our daughter now, and we know what we're going to do about this, and this is amazing, but it's like my heart's full, but my heart's broken. I don't know what to do with this reality. And we came home, and at the airport, as soon as we landed in Nashville to bring our daughter home, we had probably 3 or 4 families, even before we got out of the airport, that said something along the lines of, we would love to adopt someday, we just can't afford it. And my wife looked at them all and said, we got to figure this out. That's how Show Hope started. That's really how it began. We just wanted to help families experience the miracle of adoption. We wanted to help as many kids as we could have the miracle of a home and a family. And we've been able to, after all these many years, help almost, I think we're right at 7,000 children that have come home from 63 countries, a lot from the U.S., all over the world, into families, which has just been such a blessing for us.
I'm going to wrap you up here in just a second.
Okay.
But one last thing. A friend of mine said to me when he learned that I was going to speak to you today, said, you know, nobody embodies their music, lives their life like their music says, like Steven Curtis Chapman. He is the real deal. He practices what he preaches. How do you, in this life of filled with tragedy and filled with good things, obviously, lots of good things, but the day-to-day, how do you stay the course?
You know, your friend Dennis, our mutual buddy Dennis Deering, you know, saying, man, he's a good guy, or any of those, I take them so just with great gratitude and humility, because, you know, as we all know ourselves, I know the truth is, if they saw all of it, in fact, I wrote a song years ago called The Miracle of Mercy, and the lyrics said, if the truth was known and a light was shone on every hidden part of my heart, most would turn away, shake their heads, and say, he still has such a long way to go. If the truth was known, they'd see that the only good in me is Jesus. And, you know, it really is true, and it's not just a song lyric. It's not, I mean, you know, that is true, that God has been so faithful to put really wonderful people around me, having those people around us and seeking them out, and having an amazing wife, and having great friends and people I work with, my managers, and people that are in my life that know that these are the things that are most important to me and to us as a family, and have helped keep fanning that flame and you know, keep walking with me through this great adventure.
Hang on to Jesus with all my life.
Yes.
This has been a joy. I hope that in 30 years that number is racked up to 100, and we're back in the same spot. I was like, you got 100 number one, Steven Curtis Chapman.
Still saddling up.
But can you still do this?
Can I still do? Oh boy,
Hold tight.
You're not going to show that
One
one,
last
are you?
thing.
Oh
yes.
boy. You know what? I'm just going to say right up front, I don't know how this picture got taken, because it looks like I'm really
Can
getting
you still
it.
do that?
Look at that, look at that toe touch.
That's perfect.
I know.
That's
look at
just
that.
about flawless.
I know. I don't know how in the world I look at that picture and go, but how did these legs, because I am not a dancer. And Barry beside me there,
he is
the dancer. And you know, just the way the moment, I'm sure I was actually ahead. He was going to hit it just right.
Oh,
But somebody
see,
took me.
always humble, Steven Curtis Chapman.
He was all right. I was wrong. But, yeah.
What a joy to meet you. God bless you. Continue to bless you. Thank you for giving me this time. I've said this to a few people that I've gotten to talk to, but you feel like you make a new friend when you sit down and you can share heart-to-heart information with someone. And that's why so many people around the world love you, love your ministry, love you and your family. We wish you many more years of all of that.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you for joining us on Circle Sessions, everyone.